What is going on, guys? It's the Jimmy Fan here on Jimmy Master Animatronics, and welcome to a brand new restoration video. And this restorations video is going to be kind of different, but I think you guys will like it just as much. For those of you that don't know about this, I'll show you and then explain it. Now you may be thinking, what is this creepy looking clown doll? Well, for those of you that don't know, this is a talking toy. And I used to collect licensed characters of these many years ago, maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago at the time. This one is known as Bozo the Clown. And Bozo the Clown was a very, very popular international TV show in the early 60s, early to late 60s. And Mattel at the time came up with these Mattel talkers, originally came out with this chatty Cathy doll thing. And I'm not trying to be insulting, because I know there are a lot of collectors that actually do collect these things, and they're worth a fair amount of money. They have a great market value, and these are antique / vintage toys from the 60s and 70s, so they bring a lot of market value, for sure. But like I said, this is known as Bozo the Clown. This one in particular was made in 1962, so he's quite up there in age. But I used to have all kinds of these guys. I used to have ones like Herman Munster. I had Porky Pig, Bugs Bunny. I still have a Cat in the Hat one. A lot of the licensed characters, one for the Munsters and everything like that. It was just a great time. I had the Monkeys hand puppet. I had Popeye at one point. I can't believe I sold him. He was an awesome one. But I sold all those many years ago because I needed the money at the time and I was starting a different hobby. But I kept a few of these around. But I got this one actually 2 to 3 years ago for $10 in an antique store. And I didn't have a decent Bozo the Clown anymore. And since this one was my first one I ever acquired, I figured, why not? $10, I'll get it and repair it. Because as you could see, he does not talk at all. And I can't really get a good grip on the item itself. And I know his head's all flopped around and stuff. Because when I got him, I did open it up. I took the voice box out and investigated. And of course, as always, the rubber O-ring around the record and the... shoot, I forgot what it's called. The other thing was disintegrated, and that's a very, very common issue with these ones, especially from the early 60s. But regardless, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. And I used to repair these several years back. I used to buy these O-rings and go in there and replace them, and I ended up reselling them all for a pretty decent profit. So, yeah, it was just a really cool hobby. It was a temporary one, but yeah, I guess we'll get to repairing. But I'd like to point out a few things. This one's actually in really decent condition for his age. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be going in his voice box and replacing the timing belt, whatever you want, not timing belt, but the O-ring in there. Because without the O-ring, he can't talk. So hopefully, after many years of me not doing this, I can remember what to do in particular, and we'll go from there. So I guess I'll get back to you with the next part. And here we go. Okay, so what you'll need to start out by doing, this is more of a how-to video than anything. And if there are any Mattel toy collectors out there, please do not judge my my repair skills, because I haven't done this in so long. And but I'm going to try my best regardless. First thing you'll need to do is take his little jumpsuit off here. And like I said, this one's actually in really decent shape for his age. I do not know if I'm going to wash it. Probably won't. But like I said, the reason his head kind of flops around there is because the stuffing's like halfway out. So I'll need to tuck all that back in. And this O-ring should fit through the slot here. But you know, regardless, you may be saying, oh, look at this. Oh, this is definitely some conspiracy theorist type horror character toy, but really it's just a vintage toy. It's awesome. And yeah. And for those of you that don't appreciate the quality and whatever it took to get these things talking, because some of these things still work. After over 50 plus years, some of these things still work. So if you guys don't appreciate that kind of quality, I'm sorry. Now, like I said, I did go into the voice box at one point in time just to see what the problem was. So it's already pre-opened properly. wasn't damaged, and I just put a piece of small electrical tape here to hold the system together. So we're gonna get that open, and then I'll show you the inner workings of it, I guess. So I'm sorry if you're not getting the absolute perfect view on this video. It's just kind of an awkward pose here, so that's all that was holding it together. And I know if I open it from the side, stuff is going to probably start flying out. If I do it right, maybe that won't happen. Okay, here is what you're looking at here. Here is the dial which plays the record. The speaker is right here, and a little magnifying spring or whatever it's called, amplifier spring, goes on the top of this dial here, and it amplifies the sound so you can hear it. I cannot remember what this piece is called. But it's spring loaded right here, so it balances out. It's basically like a counterweight perhaps, but it balances out the speed of it. And this right here is the spring, and when you're replacing this timing belt or the O-ring, be very careful not to just scratch this spring across the record itself, because that will permanently damage it, and you do not want that. So what I'm going to have to do is take this off, obviously, and that leaves us with the exposed record here. The problem is that I'm holding the camera in one hand and doing the process in the other, so I'm probably gonna have to put the camera down, put the belt in there, and go from there. But what you'll need to do, just a heads up, is disconnect the spring, but do not let it go. If you let it go, it'll go all kinds of places. So to save yourself some time and some stress, hold this in one area, or just leave it right there, but don't let it come out of this little slot here. And what you'll need to do only is just attach the O-ring, which goes all the way around this record, and into the little grooves on this piece right here as well. And that's all you need to do, really. And you do need to probably adjust / tighten up the spring, because it's probably going to be out of whack after you take apart the system. So let me go get the O-rings, and I'll get back to you and install it. Now these are the O-rings. I ordered a pack of 5 here, and this is really all they are. I think I paid like $1.50 a piece for these. So and yes, these are the exact type of O-rings. And if you want to find them, just type in like Mattel talking characters, whatever, chatty ring or whatever. I don't know exactly what it's called, but this is what we're going to put on here. Like I said, just put it right over this record, or right in between this record. It has it has a groove right here, and then put it in the groove in the other piece right there, and then do the adjustments to the spring and everything else, and you should be all set. And do not forget to put the dial back in there. I've done that so many times in the past, so just don't forget about that. Okay, so once you got everything back in place here, this is what it's supposed to look like. The spring is supposed to be slightly tightened, as you can see right there, and everything is connected. And if you look over here, you'll see that O-ring is connected over there as well. And I'm going to clean some of the bottom area off real quick before I reassemble it. And but once we do that, it should be good to go, and it should be talking again. And just keep up with the spring here. It sometimes tends to just fall out of the speaker, so make sure to keep up with that. And let's get this thing reassembled, and hopefully it'll be ready to talk again. Alrighty, so as you can see, we finally got the mechanism back in place. It took me a little bit to readjust the spring because it had been out of whack for several years without me having to go back in here. So I'm going to seal it up with some adhesive or super glue, whatever, and we'll go from there. But he sounds great. I mean, for 1962 standards.
Boy, that's a ding-dong dandy!
Yeah, I know, some of you thinking, oh, it sounds totally demonic. Well, you know, that's 1962. 1962 baby boomers certainly wouldn't think that way, I'm sure.
Howdy! I'm your old pal Bozo!
So yeah, there you have it. And all this is made in the US of A. And it says Mattel Incorporated, Hawthorne, California. Pretty cool stuff.
Just keep laughing!
Play it one more time.
Boy, that's a ding-dong dandy!
So let's get this thing put back together and then we'll make the official review. So here he is after the restoration. All I have to do now is sew up the back part of him, obviously to sew up the fabric, keep the voice box in place. And it is in place. I already put the adhesive or sealant all over it, so it should be good to go. New O-rings in there, it's been cleaned and everything, so it should be good for years to go. For many years to come, for sure. And I might end up selling this guy because, like I said, I don't really collect these anymore. But it was cool to pick up one at an antique store for $10 for old time's sake. Because, they're kind of fun little restoration projects. They're fun to fix up because most of the time when you get them, they don't work. But if I had a choice to at least own one to say that, hey, I collected these at one point, I'd either have to say, I'd have to choose between Herman Munster, Popeye, or Porky Pig, in which all three are pretty expensive / pretty sought after. So, Herman Munster really goes into the expensive category, but it's really cool to have this guy fully working again. Like I said, everything's in great shape. Made in 1962. It's other than a little discoloration on the yarn hair or whatever that is, he works and looks great. But that's really what you need to expect for an item that's over 50 years old. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about it. So without further ado, we'll show it to you. We can get him to talk correctly.
Just keep laughing.
Yeah, he sounds pretty creepy, but it is what it is. He's 50 years old.
Boy, that's a ding-dong dandy.
And yes, like I said, there is a record. And even some of the more modern toys use those types of records. I know Kevin restores a lot of those types of robots with records installed in them. But they are battery powered instead of pull string, I believe. So, yeah, anyways.
That sure tickled me. Yeah, wait, Zoe.
And I don't want to pull on the string too much because that is the original string. And when you can start to tell when they get a little frayed, and this is solid black on the inside of the string, used to be solid white, but that comes with age. And if it breaks off, or for the heck of it, maybe in a couple of years, if I don't sell it between now and then, I may just end up going there and replacing the string altogether. But for now, it's just fine.
That sure tickled me.
He's got a couple more phrases. Sometimes it skips over them.
Just keep laughing. That sure tickled me. Howdy, I'm your old pal Bozo.
Yeah, there's one of them that I couldn't get him to play.
Just keep laughing.
He says that one a lot. But I was always so fascinated with these talking toys as a kid because the thing is, I really bought one just because I wanted to know how it worked. I bought one that that actually still worked at the time, but when I pulled it one too many times, the string was old, it was frayed, and it snapped right off. So I knew at that point in time I had to go in there and replace it at some point in time, so I did, and I was just blown away. I was like, wow, this is what it, this is the mechanism that controls this entire talking mechanism. How innovative is that? And from then on, I've been pretty fascinated with talking toys. I've always been fascinated with talking stuff. Anything that talked, I've always wanted to know how it talked, what made it work, and that's why I've become a repairist for these types of toys. Toys of all kinds, for all ages, from the 1960s to present day crap. So, yeah, we'll play it one more time for you.
Boy, that's a ding-dong dandy.
So yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed this small little restoration, and I really hope it was slightly helpful for the for what I did show. I didn't show some of it. I didn't show rewinding the spring because that's very tedious, and you have to get it at the right speed, or else towards the end of the line when the string's about to wind back up completely, it could either get real slow, or the spring could be tightened up too much, and it would be extremely fast. So I had to regulate it just evenly. That took a little bit of time, but no worries, turned out great. Hope you guys enjoyed this review and restoration of the Mattel Incorporated 1962 Talking Bozo the Clown. Thanks for watching.